I did everything right and I'm sitting in jail and have lost everything because, somebody didn't dot an I here, cross a T there.
Steamrolled by the justice system or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm Ryan Gresham, and this is Gun Talk Nation. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Vortex, Range Ready, and Ruger. Hey, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, we're talking with Neil and Stephannie Weidner, active self-protection, or as your fans call it, ASP. Yes?
Yeah, that's it.
I know it's funny. We abbreviate everything these days, don't we?
Right.
So active self-protection, probably most people would say that's a YouTube channel, but I know it's more than that these days. But we're going to go ahead. We're not going to start off with what is active self-protection. Let's start off with, right off the top of your head, most memorable, craziest video that you guys have talked about on the channel. Because that's what you do. You talk about real self-defense scenario videos and evaluate them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there one, or probably more than one, that stands out for you?
Yeah, there's a lot. Do you have one? You go first.
Well, the one that stands out is the very first time that John had a co-host on with was me, was the snow shovel or snow removal issue, the video out of somewhere in, I think, Wisconsin, where the neighbors across the alleyway, somebody was throwing snow in the other one's driveway, and it was an older couple that had a 18-year-old special needs son at home. Were really riding the neighbor who had, I think they threw the snow in his yard anyway, but then they were just in his face and called him everything in the book. He finally walks in the house, comes back out with a gun, and they keep talking trash to him until he starts shooting them.
This is a clue. When someone's pointing a gun at you, don't talk trash to them.
Yeah. And it, the memorable part of it is, I mean, you just can't believe somebody would do that. But at the same time it happened, and the reaction of the people of like, what, are you going to shoot me? Are you going to shoot me? And he's, yeah. And he starts shooting them. And after he unloads everything out of his pistol, he goes back in the house and comes back out with an AR and finishes them off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Just a straight up murder.
Yeah. And I just happened to be in Phoenix. Steph and I live in South Dakota. John lives in Phoenix. And I happened to be in Phoenix for some business stuff. And he's like, hey, come on and do this one with me. And right before he said, let's go, he drops by the way, they've got a special needs son that's the same age as yours.
Oh,
and
John,
so, and I'm like, so in the opening, my face is weird and everybody's like, why is that guy smiling? And I'm like, I didn't know how to react at the moment because it was so weird. That's one of the biggest ones to me.
Yeah. I don't know if mine is a specific video. Well, it was a specific video. I don't remember which one it was right now, but I was just watching the channel at this point, not working for active self-protection. And I remember seeing a video, and it was like at a convenience store and everything was normal. And then 10 seconds later, everyone's lives was changed, and I just remember relating to that and thinking I could just go in to your local, stop and go and getting milk on my way home. And my entire life could change that quickly because of a defensive encounter. Whether you're victorious or whether you lose it's going to change. And that was shocking enough to me that I realized I needed to make some changes and do some things, because being willing to die for your family and for your children isn't even really a very high bar of parenting. We're all willing to do that.
Sure.
And that's great, but how does that help your family?
Right.
So that was the video, whichever one it was. I just remember sitting there staring at it going, but 10 seconds ago, everything was normal. So, and it happened so quickly.
It seems like if you watch all these, there would be some recurring themes or some recurring lessons that, like, humans are hard-headed and maybe can't get their crap together. I mean, what are some of the ones that you seem to, how do people keep screwing this up? I mean, and I guess I'll also prep that with, like, this also isn't always necessarily like the snow shovel thing. I mean, off the bat, I would say this isn't like, the obvious bad guy doing a stop, at a convenience store, the old stop and rob. Yep. This is like neighbors bickering.
Yep.
I mean, that kind of stuff is mind blowing to me, that people would let things get so out of hand where they kill people or ruin their own lives. I mean, so themes that you see that are recurring. What do you think?
That is a big one. You see people getting involved in road rage incidents quite a bit and just jawing with other people. And I think we tend to project onto other people, even the bad guys, that have the same motivations that we do. And because I obviously wouldn't shoot someone over snow or a fight, that they wouldn't either, because it's stupid. Why would you do that? And they don't have the same values. So your temper and the mouth, things like locking your car doors, that's another big one that we just see over and over again. And I'll let you give others, but we'll often get a comment that's like, I feel like you're saying some of these same things over and over. It's like, yeah, that's a clue.
That's a clue, bud.
I'm sorry, guys. I know we keep repeating ourselves on the channel, but apparently we keep having to remind people.
Yeah.
Well, I think another big one is that people just don't pay attention to their surroundings. And so we see people walk in on a robbery going on. We see a robbery start and the people behind the counter don't even know it, because they're, the big one is cell phones. So everybody's stuck at their nose in their phone and they're stuck with that, or they're just not ready for that. They're just not looking around, and then of course you get the people that are like, well, you just want everybody to, have their head on a swivel and all that. And you can't live that way. And you absolutely can't. But, to be curious about the surroundings and what's going on in your immediate world, that's not being paranoid. That's not head on a swivel stuff. That's just paying the slightest bit of attention. It's like you don't cross the street without looking both ways. So why are you walking into a store without looking up to see who's there?
My dad hosts a radio show, and one thing he said before is being alert and being aware of your surroundings doesn't mean that you're paranoid and you're in a heightened anxiety state.
Right.
It actually means like, wow, you're looking up. You might see interesting things. You might see interesting people and meet people and look at those mountains. Oh, look, that's Dustin Hoffman right there. Like, who knows, right? Like just being out of your phone and out of your little bubble and just look around, because there's maybe like a bigger bubble.
There absolutely is. And we just see it over and over where, and in my life, I see it all the time. The thing that probably one of my biggest pet peeves is walking through any store and people just stop. Or an airport. We travel a fair amount, and you're walking through the airport and somebody just stops and stares at their phone in the middle of traffic. And I'm like, oh yeah, I get why road rage is a thing. And I've never had a road rage incident of my own, but I've seen a bunch of them. I've been witness to a bunch of them. And of course we see them on the channel all the time. And it's typically that one person who is stuck in their own tiny little bubble that gets in somebody's way. And now they've offended the wrong person. And then it just snowballs from there, and it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, the road rage thing is very prevalent these days. Boy, it's like, guys, this isn't a contest. There's not winners and losers while we're driving. We're just all trying to get somewhere.
Right.
But it's like people take it personally.
Yeah, they do. And I think you have to have this. I mean, we're all quick to excuse our own traffic faux pas. We all have a good reason when we're speeding or when we've cut in front of somebody or whatever. But sometimes it's really hard to extend that same grace to someone else that, well, maybe they didn't see me. I've done that before.
Well,
Someone's in my blind spot.
Yes, exactly. But if someone's driving slower than you, they're an idiot. But if they're driving faster than you, they're a maniac.
Yeah,
exactly.
And if they're driving the same pace as me, that's still frustrating. I'm like, get out of my way.
Why are you near me?
Yeah, what's the problem? So, we had one, another video on the channel that was a road rage incident where somebody cut somebody off. The other guy pulled up the light, flipped him the bird, and they went jawing back and forth. And that was one that hit me pretty hard just because it just felt too familiar. And literally that afternoon, I'm driving through traffic and I cut a guy off accidentally. And he pulls up to me at the light and he flips me and he was a big dude too. Yeah. And he is flipping me the bird and he is jawing. And I got my window up and I rolled my window and I was like, hey, that was my bad. I am sorry. I did not see you. That was 100% my fault. It won't happen again. Please accept my apology. And he's like, yeah. And then the thing turned green and he took off and I took a left.
And your mom.
And I'm like, dude, yeah, you're right. Screw me. I'm an idiot. Because in that case, I was like, dude, I wasn't paying close enough attention. I thought I could make it, but I did cut you off. So, but I think people are like, well, no, I have places to be too. So me cutting you off that's your problem, not mine. And sometimes we have to swallow that a little.
That's a good little superpower and a safety tool of let's go ahead and think about this before you're in the situation, because it's hard to think clearly when you're in something like that to say, yeah, man, I suck. I'm sorry. Let's drop the ego ahead of time. When you're calm and listening to the Gun Talk Nation podcast, you can say, all right. So if this happens, I could just tell this big guy or a little guy or whoever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're right. Even if you're right or you're not wrong or whatever, right? You're like, you're right. I'm sorry, dude. It's fine.
Yeah, I think was it Jack Clemens that came up with the My Bad 20? Was that him? So Jack Clemens is no longer with us, and a huge loss to our world at least. But he had this thing that he called the My Bad 20 that he carried around, and Jack was a giant, a literal giant. I don't know. Did you ever meet him?
No.
A literal giant. And he had this thing that, my bad, here's $20, I'll buy you a drink or I'll buy you whatever.
My bad.
And so I have a My Bad 20. In the scenario this morning, I handed my bad 20 to the bad guy. I'm like, hey, it's all yours, bud. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was my bad.
Yeah.
But thinking about those things in the calm moments, I think is so important. So you have kind of a if-then Rolodex that you can go to and refer to. So when you're standing in the middle of a defensive encounter, yours or someone else's, you're not trying to decide, am I willing to get in third-party encounters? Am I willing to do this? Am I willing to do that? Because you thought through a lot of this stuff from your living room.
Yeah.
And that makes it, it just makes it so much easier. You know where your lines are, and you can not have to think about that.
You're creating those lines in the sand. You guys are in town because we're shooting some first-person Defender episodes, a thing we put on YouTube. We had a guy this morning who admittedly was kind of like got into the scenario and went, I mean, I don't know, maybe I should draw my gun, shoot the bad guy. I don't know. But he was like, he didn't have any lines in the sand that he'd created in his mind. And that's the time to do it. In your lazy boy, sitting there, chilling out on a weekday night, not like in the middle of the shop and rob. I mean, this is like, and what are those? And play it out. Don't play it out where it all goes perfectly.
Right.
Play it out where you go, okay, he says, give me your car keys. Cool. I give him my car keys. Then he says, all right, go get in the car. Well, maybe that's a line. I'm not getting in any car. And it's like something that you can also communicate to your kids. I've got kids. It's like, do not get in any car.
No.
Right.
And tell my wife. I mean, they're like, get in the car.
Nope.
We're going to have it out right here.
Yeah.
Wherever we are.
Take
I'm
my
not getting in
chances
the
here.
car.
Yeah.
Run, fight, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think the real value in the videos that we have is that in a lot of cases our brain can't tell the difference, from between the virtual training and the reality of it, and so you get a mental rep of here's what happened to somebody else, and here's the lessons that we can learn from that, and now I've got a mental rep in mind, and now my card catalog has one more thing that I can think of as I'm trying to figure out what to do in the moment. Because what we see is that, there's a huge cognitive load that happens in a self-defense scenario issue in that, do I draw my gun? Do I not draw my gun? Where's he going with the knife? What's he doing with this stuff? There's just so much going on. So if we can lower the threshold of things that we can do automatically, and we can then think through those other scenarios and think through our card catalog and go, okay, here's a good idea. It's probably not going to be the best idea as witnessed on your YouTube channel all the time, but our brain goes and takes the best, okayest idea that it has and implements it. And a lot of times it's it's not the exact right one, but it's usually a better one than if you have to think of it on the spot. Because if you're in the moment trying to come up with a solution, we see what we saw this morning where I don't know what to do, and then we freeze, and we see that all the time.
And knowing you have options too, right? I mean, it's like, well, I didn't have any option. Well, how about running out the front door of the convenience store? Oh, I could do that? Yeah. You could do anything. You can run out the back door too.
Yep.
And everything is in play, and that's in the real world especially, right? One of the things that probably you guys have said and we've said, you're in a restaurant. Another option is running through the kitchen.
Right.
There is a back door to every restaurant. There's a back door to probably most stores in the mall.
Yep.
You could just say, I'm just coming over the counter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even as a third-party bystander, if you're not the one that the violence is being directed at, it frustrates me to no end to see people just kind of milling about while there are guns and knives in play. And I don't know if they're just intensely watching or they're freezing up, but get out. So thinking through those things ahead of time, that if I see, defensive encounter and I'm away from it, I'm either going to get involved or I'm going to leave and draw those lines in the sand as well.
Yeah, it's like, do you think you're watching this through a screen? This is real life.
Yeah.
This is actually happening in front of you
right
Yes.
now. Yeah.
All right, you guys have millions of subscribers and views and stuff. So after the break, we're going to talk about comments, questions, and stories from your viewers. Ruger and Magpul walked into a bar and somehow, instead of starting a fight, they built a handgun masterpiece, the Ruger RXM. This American-made pistol is everything you want: exceptional ergonomics, upgraded features, and a price tag that won't require selling a kidney. Bottom line, the RXM is built for you, your budget, and your obsession with tweaking your gun until it's just right. So go ahead and make it yours. Ruger and Magpul already did the hard part. Ever wanted to train at a top-tier shooting facility that used to be a slaughterhouse? Well, dreams do come true. Welcome to Range Ready Training, the home of Gun Talk Media, where we turned an abandoned meat processing plant into one of the best firearm training facilities in the country. Led by Chris Serino, Range Ready offers pistol, rifle, women's only, force on force, and instructor development courses. Whether you're a newbie, a pro, or that guy who thinks watching YouTube makes you an expert, we've got a class for you. So if you're serious about getting better, training smarter, and maybe experiencing a little Louisiana charm along the way, come check out Range Ready Training. New from Vortex, it's the Viper Shotgun Enclosed Micro Red Dot. Purpose-built for the fast pace of turkey hunting and wing shooting, the Viper Shotgun Enclosed Micro Red Dot delivers an ultra-low profile design and wide field of view for intuitive shooting and superior recoil control. Its enclosed design and integrated universal mount ensures seamless operation and maximum protection against the elements. You can even use it on other things like a lever gun or a tactical shotgun. Check it out from Vortex, the Vortex Viper Shotgun Enclosed Micro Red Dot. All right, so active self-protection, one of the bigger channels when it comes to the subject of like self-defense and guns and stuff. We were talking about comments. I mean, it's the blessing and the curse of YouTube.
Right.
Yep.
Thousands of comments, but I think you probably have interesting comments. You probably have interesting questions and perhaps even real life stories from viewers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure.
We do. We get, that was one thing that I noticed really early on and drove me really early on to learn the best that I could. You are always continually learning and changing and growing, teach the best that you can, but it really matters. What you're telling people really matters. I remember vividly an email that I got early on was from someone that they had been walking and someone came out from between the shadows of the houses. And he said, and when I had a gun pointed at my chest, I could hear your words, not the time he meant John's words, in my head telling me what to do. And I just had to sit there with a moment with kind of the awesomeness of that responsibility, that when people's lives are on their line, they're doing what you have told them to do. You better be telling them right and constantly striving. And I still get emails probably weekly from people ranging from, hey, I think I might have seen something and avoided it, all the way up to the gun to the chest. And, they always want to say something along the lines of, thank you for saving my life or whatever. It's like, no, first of all, you had a lot of choices and you could have chosen to listen, not listen, learn. You were the one put in that situation that day. You saved your own life. I'm honored to have been a resource for you, but you took advantage of those resources. There are plenty of people that didn't. So yeah, that is one thing that continually pushes us to the highest level of excellence we can attain, because for some people it's really going to matter. At our conference, we do a national conference every year, training conference. I got an email from a gentleman that on the way home, he felt like he thwarted, and I think he did from his description, a carjacking as 3 a.m. on the way to the airport to get gas for the rental car. And he had 2 cars come to box him in, and he was able to jump the curb and get out, something that maybe not everyone would think about. We don't always go to the exits, and he went directly over the curb and took off. And he, so you're on your way home from a training and you have to implement stuff right away. So
rental car, who cares?
Yeah, it's just fine. He had the insurance. It was all right.
Neil, is there a story or comments or questions that stand out for you?
Well, so I am probably the main moderator on the channel at this point. Now that kind of shifts from time to time. So
you're probably talking to Neil.
Yeah, you're likely talking to me, even though you think it's John. I know most of his one-liners as well. He stole most of his one-liners from me. Is that fair?
Maybe.
And some from Steph too. And he's got some great ones too. So I talk with people on the regular there. And, you know, the thing that comes up over and over is, well, in this other video, you said this, so now you're contradicting yourself.
Oh, interesting.
And so then I have to go back and watch the other video because I don't want to be gaslit into an argument. I want to know, oh, wait a minute. No, okay. So I go watch that video. Well, that was a completely different scenario. That guy was a cop and has a completely different mission than we do here. And so I see that very commonly that people
very,
want
very hard. They want black and white.
They want a one-size-fits-all answer to their problems, and they want to watch one video that's going to solve all of their problems. And some people do. The other
nuance. I was just going to say the nuance is really where it's at. We also do a lot of expert witness work and just seeing everything that goes into it and how things can vary and be viewed and seen by so many different people. You have to understand nuance and be willing to embrace that. And that's really seems like it's a challenge.
It is. And, you know, so the fun ones are the ones that interact with you and tell you how stupid you are and you're fat, you're ugly, your mama's ugly, whatever. And then you actually engage with them and they come around. And that's pretty rare. But about 1% or less of people that watch actually comment. Typically a comment, probably 80% of that comes from a negative emotion. And so they're like, you're wrong. And here's why. And so to come and have a conversation with those folks that they come around is maybe the most rewarding. And I just had another one here this week that the guy, I don't remember the exact details, but I took a screenshot of it and sent it to John and Steph. And I'm like, look, I got one. I won one finally.
He's like, fine, you're right.
Yeah. Well, it was a fine, you're right. And thank you. I'd never considered that.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
and
they don't. And look, we are in this world all the time.
Yes.
This is your full-time gig.
Yep.
And most people have other things to do in their life. They're not thinking about this stuff all the time. So it's like, look, it's not that I'm like an expert, but I just spend a lot of time on this and you don't because you have a real job doing whatever you do.
Right.
Yep.
I got a question for you. I think one of the positives about a lot of this type of content that you guys do and others do is people understanding the seriousness of a gun in a self-defense scenario and using your gun to protect yourself. However, do you think that has created a reluctance on people's part to protect themselves, a hesitancy that could get them hurt?
I think that there's a real strong possibility of that. I think good people generally want to do good things and we want to be cautious and careful. Every time you're in a defensive encounter, I feel like there's so much that could go wrong. And it's hard because you want to make people aware of what's being put on the line if they decide to engage or, you know, if I have a chance to comply, I have a chance to fight, all of these things. I want them to know the decision they're making. But the last thing I want them to do is hesitate because we can fight the fight at the end if we need to. We can work things out legally if we need to. I want them to be hesitant to do stupid things.
Sure.
You know, and that's the challenge is because we all think we're the hero in our own story. That's another fairly regular message that we'll get is someone sending their own video and I'm watching it going, my God, what have you done? You know, you're the bad guy.
Look at this awesome thing I did.
Yeah,
Like,
you just committed aggravated assault.
Don't share that, please.
And they have no idea. So that's really a challenge. You don't know who you're talking to, but I do worry that good people are more reluctant to defend themselves than they should be. I don't know. Do you?
I think that, you know, we see it over and over that people take an extra step to engage. You know, they take a little bit longer to, and I think it's out of care and out of worry about, you know, am I going to have that one DA that decides to throw the book at me? Because all we ever hear are the horror stories. Yeah. You rarely hear of the part where the cop scoops up your gun, puts it in your holster for you, taps you on the shoulder and says, good job.
Right.
So, you just don't hear those stories. They happen, but you hear the horror stories of, well, you know, I did everything right and I'm sitting in jail and I've lost everything because, you know, somebody didn't dot an I here or cross a T there.
Steamrolled by the justice system or whatever. Legal.
And so, I do that is something that is something that comes to mind from time to time. And as I'm watching some of these videos, you see it play out day in and day out. And so our channel has about 4,500 videos on the main channel right now. That's out of about 50,000 that we've had submitted to us. And so we've seen a lot more. Wow. And there's some that, you know, there's not a real great lesson there, or this is just insanely too gory to put on YouTube or something along those lines. So we've seen the gamut of from the real easy stuff to the really, really difficult stuff. But we try to find ones that have some nuance to show people, here's how you can survive, and here's some of the go indicators. And one of the things that John has come up with recently is, we do a lot of training with the Force Science guys, and they talk about human performance, and looking for go signals if a bad guy's got a gun out and that kind of thing. And if he shows you his ear and you have a 1.5 second draw, you can probably get in the fight and very likely win. Now, you're not guaranteed to win, but you're ahead of him in the fight because it'll take him that long to respond to you.
And you got to use that in your scenario yesterday. You knew when his eyes moved offline, you didn't have very long, but knowing what your draw was and the fact that his eyes went offline for just a second got you guys shooting at the same time, basically.
Yeah.
And so those are, but I think back to your question, the thing that we do see is I think people typically pause because there's this normalcy bias that this isn't really happening. Is this really what's going on?
Am I about to have to shoot somebody?
Right.
Yeah. And I told you that I had one of those years back where I was going, oh my gosh, I'm about to have to shoot somebody.
Right.
And it didn't. And it ended up turning out to not be anything, but it was just all felt like it was building to like, holy crap, this is about to happen.
Right.
And then I started sweating going, oh, like, because people watch this, people listen to our stuff or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, my favorite is, if he's in my house, I'm shooting him.
Yeah.
Like, that's the guy that actually maybe needs to hesitate.
Exactly.
And think through this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and that's I feel like people often have a very difficult time being creative and flexible in what their defensive scenarios might look like. We all think it's going to be directed at us and not a third party.
Right.
We all think it's going to be a very clear bad guy and not a family member or a woman or a child or any of these things. And these are things that you have to think through, because I would say rarely do the encounters look like what people have probably envisioned in their heads. And so it just takes a moment.
I think over the years, we've probably met thousands now of people that have been in a scenario, so if we're at the NRA and one of us is speaking there, afterwards you get the people come up and they're like, yeah, I had this happen or that happened, or thank you for that, and there's fans too. So, and those are always fun conversations. But when you get the one that's like, I had this happen, I have never heard anybody say, well, my self-defense scenario went exactly like I planned.
Right.
It was, it's always, I had no clue. I was in my grandson's house and somebody broke in and started stabbing him, kind of thing. And I had not planned for that. However, I was able to react to it and save him through this. But, we hear some of the crazy horror stories of folks out there.
The drunk guy ending up in the wrong house or something, I don't want to shoot that guy if I don't have to. And if you do want to, that's a lot. Either you have some really serious issues or you don't understand our legal system, because it's crushing sometimes, even when you are perfectly correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, guys, I guess we should go out there and do some more training, some more force and force, go attack somebody.
Oh, it's so
be
fun.
Attacked.
That is so fun.
Be attacked and get attacked. I mean, the learning, right, from force and force, isn't it great?
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect coming here. I'd watched a few episodes and I knew what it was about, but I didn't know what I was going to be doing here. This has been a blast for me. And I mean, if anybody ever, I know you guys do some like casting call stuff like that. If you get the chance, get in on this, because it's great training. It'll be a great experience for you. And
it's that decision-making training that's so difficult to find. There's plenty of marksmanship training. This is how you shoot a gun. But finding something that helps you make those decisions and build those files and does it well. I mean, you may find some scenario training, but like I was saying this morning, sometimes it's not terribly good. And so to find good scenario training is rough. And if you're not able to do something like that, you can learn a lot just from watching and putting yourself in those scenarios. Watch these episodes and, maybe pause the video at some places. What would I have done here? What is happening? What do I see? And those are the kinds of trainings that are really valuable and really hard to find. Yeah.
Awesome. Neil, Stephannie, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Active Self-Protection. I would tell you guys to watch their channel, but you probably already do. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.